So you can clearly tell our next guest and our next stop is a very important visitor. We're actually sitting down for this interview, and I'm joined by Patricia Hontar of the St. Thomas Local Immigration Partnership. Patricia, thanks so much for inviting us into your space. We're at the YWCA in St. Thomas. Start off by actually telling us about SteelUp, which is the acronym. What do you guys do? What's the whole purpose, and why does it matter?
Absolutely. So the St. Thomas-Elgin Local Immigration Partnership, really long name, we call it SteelUp for short, is a project that was funded by IRCC, which is the Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada. So we've been funded for 11 years, and in 2011 we were given the mandate to go and find the needs of the newcomers and immigrants in our community. And after a year of research, we were told to go do it. So for the last 10 years, we've been working on different projects to help build supports for immigrants. And it runs the gamut of just doing promotion campaigns that talk about diversity and the benefits of diversity in our community, providing spaces for our newcomers and immigrants to show their culture, all the way to supports within our business community, with our employers, business supports with all of our service providers, and English language classes, all these pieces, anything that helps newcomers navigate and connect services to provide a better experience for immigrants in our community, we have a hand in.
Awesome. And then you started off, what's the tagline, right? What's the mission? What are we doing?
We are building welcoming, caring, and inclusive communities. So it's really a wide open invitation to do anything we need to create a space for everybody. And we really believe that not only are we building spaces for immigrants, we're also building a more exciting, diverse community for the people who live here. So while our main focus is immigration, we're actually looking at building a more robust community.
And what changes, like, in terms of, like, I mean, I grew up here, and looking around, I mean, St. Thomas is such, it's a more incredible community today. The diversity is that, but like, what changes have you seen during, the past decade or so of working here?
So many. So in 2011, when we were knocking on doors trying to understand how newcomers and immigrants access services, we were told by so many service providers we don't have immigrant clients. And for us, that was a big red flag. We said, why are our immigrants who are part of our community not accessing the services? And now we have a lot of active partnerships, people coming and connecting with us. So just in that fact, we know that the diversity has increased. We know that people are finding out and getting the support they need to live in our community. We don't have the demographic numbers. They're coming out in October, and I'm so excited. But I know that visually you can see our grocery stores have more international products. As you're out in the stores, you're seeing people from different cultures, so many more food options than we've ever had, and just a lot of ways and reasons to celebrate our community that's changing and becoming just more exciting in my experience.
Yeah, and I love it, and I mean, I feel like we're getting a little bit hungry as we're chatting about this as well. You talked about partners. I mean, full disclosure, the St. Thomas Chamber of Commerce, St. Thomas and District Chamber of Commerce, get the name of my own organization correct. We're members of the SteelUp Council, and diversity ultimately, I mean, from a business perspective, it is good from a bottom line. That's a little bit cynical, but ultimately, like, bringing in different ways to think about things, different approaches, they're asking different questions to the back of the mind. There's empirical evidence that demonstrates time and time again that, again, diversity is good for businesses. What message, though, would you like to get out? Like, how would a business really empower themselves to be that welcoming place, that inclusive place, that place where people being like, I might not necessarily have grown up in St. Thomas, but man, I feel integrated in the community, I feel part of the community, I feel valued in the community. What would you want to say?
Absolutely. So within a business setting, it's always great for employers to talk to the employees and to understand their experience. There's a lot of nuanced pieces that happen in a workplace that you may not understand or realize that your employee isn't fitting in, isn't feeling heard. I think it's really, really great if we can listen to our employees and see how they can input in the way you do work. Oftentimes when you're coming from a different country, the way you do things is different than what we do in North America, and that may lead to improvements in the way you actually support or put out your product or deliver your service. And I think it's really important just to listen to the people that have a different experience, and that's one really big piece. There's other ways you can, depending on who your employees are, you can look at ways to ensure that they're understanding the information you're giving them. If English isn't their first language, We use a lot of idioms in our language. We use a lot of phrases that make sense if you've grown up using them, but absolutely doesn't make sense if you're translating word for word. So trying to check in and make sure people understand, and a good way to do that is, instead of saying, do you understand? Saying like, can you explain that back to me? It goes a long way to like make sure that people feel comfortable in their environment.
So realistically, I mean, part of what it is so simple. It's just being maybe a little bit more compassionate, or meeting someone, just maybe taking a few steps closer to where they're at and where they need to be.
And just like learning the simple things, like learning how to like accommodate in little ways, like saying hello in their language, or like having that cultural exchange, giving that opportunity. There's a lot of different people coming from different faith backgrounds. We have a new Islamic center community. We have a Hindu temple. We have just a lot of people who are finding their home here and trying to accommodate those different religious traditions. We're based on a Christian calendar, so we have Christmas off, but sometimes people need to have accommodations if they want to pray at the Islamic center on Fridays. The Friday prayer is a big deal. How can you as an employer accommodate maybe a little bit longer lunch period on that Friday to allow them to have that space? And if that's not possible, can you provide a prayer room? Or just like asking those little questions and allowing those little tweaks that make someone feel heard and part of the community make a big difference.
And I want to, like, I mean, there is some pragmatism. We want, you know, the people, business owners to understand that, but with the challenge of even recruiting or retaining employees is like one of the most critical challenges facing businesses right now. So, I mean, one, this is good for business overall. It's being compassionate, empathetic to people, meeting them where they're at, but it's also a practical thing that they actually should be starting to do.
Absolutely, and one of the biggest challenges employers face is not understanding how to read a resume that has international credentials. There's the Access Center in London that is able to help you navigate that, is able to take what someone trained in a different country and translate it to what the Canadian context is. So that shouldn't be a barrier. Also getting people into your workplace and then finding ways to help them promote. So if it's not at the level that they left their country, you can still get them in, get them acclimatized into the space, and then find pathways for them to get into their work potential, because we often lose a lot of potential with our immigrant employees because we don't understand how to take their credentials, their experience, and translate it to our community. But I think you don't have to achieve perfection right away. If you start at a smaller place and work with them, you can really retain loyal employees.
And I mean, quite honestly, Canada does need to be doing a better job of recognizing international qualifications. I mean, our healthcare system, certainly over the last little bit, is increasingly under threat, and it's because of we don't have enough people to actually deliver the care that, you know, our family and friends deserve. So if you were trained for it, like, how can we actually bring that up to speed? Now, before you get in, because I know we're excited about the topic, we're passionate about it. Can a business, like, could a business owner or business owner being like, I'm not sure, I want to do this, I want to do it right, but I'm not even really sure to start. Can they go directly to Steel Up? Is that what you'd recommend?
Yeah, so something that we're trying to work on for our community is to develop a mentorship program. And the challenge in our community is we have very different businesses, very different employer needs than you see in larger centers, where a mentorship program is really for those regulated professions. We don't have many of those jobs. So we're trying to develop and tweak a system that works for the jobs we have and the jobs that our employers need. So we are going to be going down that process, and we need input from the people who will be using the fruits of this labor. So absolutely, if you're a business who is looking to hire, to expand who they're recruiting, we need you to help develop this program. And that's a big piece. Regulated professions, as you mentioned, is a little bit more tricky. The Fairness Commissioner based for Ontario is working with those regulated bodies to try and change how we can fast track immigrants into some of those spaces. And doctors, nurses are one of those that we're absolutely seeing right now, but it also runs to anyone else who's accredited, engineers, professionals. So that is a lot of work happening. There's a lot of moving pieces with that, but any input you can have of how that can serve you better is great use for our community.
Perfect, and we'll get it up on the screen, no doubt. What's the website?
Absolutely. For my website?
Yes, your website.
So my website is easy, steelip.ca, so STELIP.ca.
Alrighty, perfect. Now we're gonna finish off. We're sitting in front. I feel again we needed like a couple ferns or whatever to be sitting between, but we're sitting in front of some a beautiful mural. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we did a project at the Horton Market, and it was a community art project. This is one of the hashtags we use. Culture lives here. We're trying to celebrate the culture in St. Thomas and Elgin. Everyone has their own culture in some piece, but we want to just acknowledge that in some way, and so we created this community art piece. It hangs in our office, but we brought it down for today. And then also we've received a lot of requests for a sign and something that celebrates their diversity, tells people who are moving to our area that we want you here. So we have the I'm happy you're my neighbor sign that shows all the different skin tones, all the different people of different walks of life. We are trying to find ways to make it more welcoming, to allow for space for everyone in our community.
Awesome. We joke, we're jovial, but this is incredibly important work. And not only just to be good human beings, but ultimately for our community to thrive, for jobs to be available, and quite honestly, let's go back to it for some more incredible cuisine.
Absolutely. That's one of the things. I moved from the big city and I miss some of the different food options, but we are getting so many more options. We did run a campaign called See Me As I Am, and it's just inviting people to not see an immigrant as an immigrant, see them as those qualities that you see in yourself. We have someone who there is like, see me as a chef, see me as a father. Immigrants in our community are just as human as everyone else who lives here, and it's an invitation to see past that one difference to how we are similar. So it was a great campaign, and we encourage everyone to go take a look. It's on our website, and just celebrate the people that we have living here.
Alrighty, I like alliteration. Patricia's passion is off the
Yes.
hook. Thank you again for welcoming me today. Yes, we'll shake hands, we'll do
Thanks
it
for
official.
coming.
And again, St. Thomas Elgin Local Immigration Partnership.
Steelip.ca.
It's like we planned it. Thanks so much.